Code Monkey get up, get coffee. Code Monkey go to job. Code Monkey have boring meeting with boring manager Rob. Rob say Code Monkey very diligent, but his output stink. His code not functional or elegant. What do Code Monkey think? Code Monkey think maybe manager wanna write login page himself. Code Monkey not say it out loud. Code Monkey not crazy, just proud. Code Monkey like Fritos. Code Monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code Monkey very simple man. Big warm fuzzy secret heart. Code Monkey like you. Code Monkey like you.
What's new, Dino Dudes? It's me, the Media Raptor, and welcome to another episode of the Media Raptor Reviews. In fact, what might be one of the last episodes of the Media Raptor Reviews, on YouTube at least. I don't know what's going on with the new terms of service, but apparently if you don't make money, they're gonna kick you off, so it's been a fun 7 years, I guess. Regardless, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something else that didn't make money. Terminator Dark Fate. So, a few years back, I reviewed the original The Terminator, and I love that movie. If you actually go back and look at the description, it says, I just saw the amazing movie Terminator Genisys. Let me explain this. The Terminator, as a franchise, the Terminator franchise, has three amazing movies. One movie that I think is okay, one movie I hate, and Dark Fate. Excuse me. The ones I love are Terminator, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Terminator Salvation. I actually really liked it. It was just a fun action movie and with riff tracks, really entertaining. Very creative visuals, really cool atmosphere and bleak sort of setting. It worked for what it was. Rise of the Machines was okay. I didn't hate it, but it certainly isn't one of my favorites. Sorry. And Genisys was just terrible. Now, when I first saw it, I wasn't thinking too much about the whole timelines and thinking from a critical point of view about, hang on, how does this movie affect the rest of it? I was just thinking, oh, cool, explosions, guns, yay! And even going back, even the action wasn't that good. And not to mention what they did to the timeline. Yeah, I kind of get why this movie decided, you know what, everything after number 2 didn't happen. We're not going down that path, and I kind of got to thank them for it, because Genisys was a nightmare to try and figure out what happened in the timeline after that. Like, you guys think the Five Nights at Freddy's or the Zelda timelines are bad? They are, sorry. But the Terminator, yeah, that's a pretty harsh one to figure out these days, too. At least it was up until now. So, Dark Fate has not been critically or financially successful. Critics have put it on blast, fans have been angry, and the movie has made a kind of sad amount of money back compared to what it must have cost to make it. Currently, in the last week, the movie made... Well, hang on, I just want to check. It said, according to IMDb, and I'm just going to trust them on this, the budget was $185 million. So, that's a lot of money. That's that's nearly $200 million. That's nearly an eighth of what the Joker has made. And its opening weekend was $29 million in the US. That is not good. And that was last week. Literally a week ago. In total, it's only grossed $199 million, $357,130 in total. So it just barely made back its own budget. That is not good for a movie, especially a movie in a franchise as beloved and well-known as The Terminator. Whether you like 3 and Salvation and Genisys or not, you have to admit the first 2 Terminator movies are extremely influential and extremely well-made sci-fi movies. They're not perfect, and the first one has dated quite a bit, but they are classics for a reason. So, where does Dark Fate fit into my list of ones of what I thought? Was it great, okay, or bad? Well, it's kind of a mix of all three. Like, if you took all three genres and shoved them together. What I mean by that is that it is a Terminator movie. But it almost feels like a Fast and Furious movie, and a lot of that has to do with the writing. First of all, there's a lot to like about this movie. The writing has some really clever ideas and new twists that, while admittedly kinda dumb, do make sense considering what the timeline currently is and the fact that certain events haven't happened, so therefore they can get away with cheating on some stuff. It works enough that you won't be overly confused, but you also probably won't be paying attention to the whole time travel aspect as much. The new Terminator types they have, the Rev 9s, or 9 Revs, I forget what they're called. Like, I keep getting them mixed up, but yeah, Rev 9, not only does he look awesome, it's essentially Noob Saibot as a Terminator. You don't know what I mean, you don't play Mortal Kombat. I really like the idea that one of the characters sent back in time is technically an android, kind of like what they did with, or cyborg, kind of like what they did with Marcus in Terminator Salvation. The new character, the new hero, she could have been a bit better, but at least she was decently acted, so the characters are really just characters. Like, they know you're not exactly here for them, but they do give you enough reason to at least care if they live or die. And as for the T-800 that shows up, I think I really like what they did with him. There's a very interesting, I have a very interesting theory on why it happened the way it did, and I might make a separate video on that. See, it has to do with the fact that since technically the timeline ended after Terminator 2, Rise of the Machines didn't happen, so the whole big Skynet thing didn't happen. So how is the Terminator back here, though? Well, they don't say how the T-800's here. Excuse me. They do say how the Rev 9 is here, but I actually have a theory on why the T-800's here, and I'll talk about that another time. And as for Sarah Connor, I really like what they did with her character. It's a very interesting and unique take on it with the fact that she, spoiler alert, is kind of just hunting down Terminators now. I wouldn't mind an entire movie just based on her going around hunting Terminators. I think it's like that TV show, The Sarah Connor Chronicles, but I haven't seen that show before. Now, with all that being said, the writing is also quite dumb. There were a number of times when I was in the theaters, when I was sitting there thinking, okay, really? Are you really trying to do that, or did you really just say that, or how does that make sense? I was thinking that. The guy who looks at Sharknado and says, masterpiece. Okay, I love bad movies. I love the Fast and Furious movies. If a movie is entertaining, I don't always care about the writing. And this movie gets the pass from me because it is so it is just so entertaining and fun that it just makes popcorn taste better. But looking at the writing from a critical point of view, it is bad. Like, there really is no other way around it. It does have some moments of brilliance, and actually some interesting bits of humor, character development, and storytelling, but there is quite a lot of just bad writing. Like, I can't get around it. Now, something that certainly does help the movie happens to be the acting. First of all, Linda Hamilton, fantastic job. She's Linda Hamilton, what do you expect? She brings really good energy to this role, and she brings a new kind of take on Sarah Connor that I think works especially well with the character that was written. Arnold Schwarzenegger is still Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love that man, always have. He is the perfect casting for the Terminator. And then we get to some of the newer actors, or the new characters, such as Mackenzie Davis as Grace, who, spoilers here, is the sort of cyborgy guy, sent back in time character. And she's been in some things before, from just looking at it. She's been in Blade Runner 2049, Black Mirror, The Martian. But this kind of seems like it was her biggest role yet. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I'm just kind of digging through here, having a look at it. Looking through IMDb. So she did a good job. I will admit, though, some of her lines did make me go, are you sure the director didn't accidentally record the test take and then put it into the movie? Natalia Reyes, who plays Danny, the new main character, sort of, has been in a lot of things I've never heard of. A lot of Spanish stuff, which makes sense because she is Spanish. She's Latin American, so I guess that makes sense why I probably haven't seen her in a lot, because I haven't seen a lot of the things that IMDb says she's been in. And Rev 9 and Gabriel, or the Rev 9, the human form, was played by a guy named Gabriel Luna. That name sounds familiar. Oh, that's why. Right. He was a Ghost Rider and agent of S.H.E.I.L.D. That was awesome. I like that version of Ghost Rider. So, well, the acting is kind of a mixed bag from a lot of the actors, not just the main two not just the new actors. There are multiple times when either a background character or even a main character delivers a line, and I'm thinking, okay, either they didn't care, they messed it up, or it's just that poorly written that they can't do anything with. And it is kind of noticeable. Thankfully, though, the action is pretty good. The biggest problem I have with this movie is the effects. There were multiple times when this movie, with a nearly $200 million budget, looked like a Sci-Fi Channel movie. And whenever the Rev 9 was jumping around and stuff like that, it looked so horrible. And keep in mind, again, guy who loves Sharknado, I'm used to bad CG. Bad CG can make me laugh, bad CG can be entertaining, but when there's so much good CG in this movie, at least very decent CG and practical effects, when it then suddenly cuts to this whole really horrible CG, it's just all the more noticeable. That being said, when they do use practical effects, it looks great. For stuff like the car chases, the makeup, some of the explosions, the props, and especially the makeup stuff for Arnold Schwarzenegger when his face is damaged or when he has his robotic arm out, it looks really good. Something else worth mentioning that I noticed that is kind of annoying is this movie is kind of shoddily edited. Now, I know. My videos are nothing special when it comes to editing, so I really can't complain about that. But again, for a professionally made movie, there were a number of cuts that just seemed weird. Like, they normally were cuts that would go from, like, a wide shot close-up. How it typically works is when a character is walking towards someone and you're going to cut to that character. If the character is here and it's a wide shot, the camera's back here, what you would then do is have the actor go all the way, stop, move back a bit, film from here, go forward. That way you can splice it together and make it look natural. This movie has a couple shots where a character is walking up from a wide shot, then when the camera cuts for them to be facing them, they're back here and moving up again. And that stuff is just really amateur mistakes. Like, as someone who takes a film course in university, I'm surprised that got in there. But still, this whole movie does kind of have an air of, look, we know this is probably going to be the last one we do, we just want to make this movie. So, 2 questions come to me in the end. 1, can I recommend Terminator Dark Fate? And 2, does the Terminator have a future? The answer to both of them is yes. Terminator Dark Fate is not exactly a good movie, but it is certainly entertaining. If you just want a movie you don't think much about, or even just throw on in the background for some noise, or you want to get a couple of friends over, have some drinks and pizza, make some nachos, and start riffing on a movie, this is the kind of movie that is perfect for it. If you want to just kind of kick back one night and just have a dumb movie you don't need to think about, this is a great movie. I can think of other movies that I would choose before this, but this movie manages to at least be entertainingly bad, while it is sadly kind of bad. I can only give it a 2 Raptor claws out of 4 rating because the quality is shockingly shoddy in some places. Again, for a movie with a nearly $200 million budget. I wonder how much that budget was used just to get Arnold Schwarzenegger and man, why do I forget her name all of a sudden? Linda Hamilton back. Kind of wonder how much was needed to get them back. And as for Terminator having a future, well, I think Terminator could have a future, but not in movies. It's time for this franchise to stop making movies. You should have stopped after Salvation. Heck, you probably should have stopped after number 3. Like, it really is time to stop. Don't reboot the franchise again. Don't remake the franchise. Don't make more sequels. Although if they do, I will probably still watch them. What they should do is do what a lot of people have been doing these days. Turn to Netflix. Hear me out. Terminator could totally work as an animated series on Netflix. Think about what they could do with it. They could show all the extreme action, the gore, the violence, the struggle of the war between the humans and machines post-Judgment Day, or post what happens in this movie. And since it could be animated, they wouldn't have to worry so much about having the money to blow stuff up and have effects. In fact, if any show should be developed for a Netflix series, The Terminator is it. Even if they don't continue this story from like these movies, the comics have so much potential. I know a lot of people didn't like Terminator Salvation, but there was a 12-issue maxi series released not long after the movie called Terminator Salvation something or other. Not actually called, I forget what it was called. And it is one of the best things I have read in a long time when it comes to a sci-fi comic, and probably the greatest Terminator story since Terminator 2 Judgment Day. It is smart, it is frightening, it is intense, the Terminators are actually made threatening. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Anytime we see an endoskeleton in this movie, at least the one for the Rev 9, it looks really weird, because like when you look at it from straight on, it looks like your typical Terminator, but when you do it from the side, its head, like the top of its head is here, it then goes inwards and around like a deflated basketball. And it just really takes away some of the fear of this giant, like, lumbering death machine. Plus, the Rev 9s, when they're not in the ultra cool forms we see in the future times at a few points, they're really skinny. I think part of what made the Terminator endoskeleton so terrifying is the fact that it's this giant metal beast. I don't want this franchise to disappear forever. I'd like it to keep going, but I don't think movies are the right path. Then again, what do I know? Anyhow, that's all the time I got for this episode. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment down below what you thought of the movie, subscribe for more stuff, hopefully. I don't know what's going to happen on December 10th. You know, I would give this movie a watch, though. It's bad, but it can be kind of fun, too. Until next time, this has been the Media Raptor, saying keep cool, and I'll see all you Dino Dudes around. Later.